Hello everyone, welcome to week 5 of my 12 weeks of Christmas series here. I'm so excited about today's. I think I'm gonna have a little trouble talking because I'm so excited about today's project. I am Ruth Norton with Ruth Stamping Corner, and I'm just going to give you a little sneak peek. This is just a little piece of what we're going to be making today. Isn't that adorable? Lots of shine on those wheels. His hat's so cute. So we're going to go over all of this. Oh wait, look at the other side too. So it is, I mean, there's so much to talk about with this, and I told you that's just like one piece of it. So I'm going to show you more of it in just a minute. We're going to go over all of it. This one might be a little bit of a longer video because there's a lot involved in this one. But it's one of those treats that it's going to be totally worth making, and you may be able to use this year to year. So I think that it is, it's going to be a fantastic little treat. Okay, before we jump into the treat though, really quick, I'm going to go over things that are going on. This November Paper Pumpkin subscription period is open. This is November's kit. This one was October's. This is November's. They actually coordinate with each other. So if you got October's, make sure that you are subscribed to get November's. If you want November's, if you missed out on October's, make sure you are subscribed by November 10th. There is an add-on for this kit. You can add on some of these treat bags. There you get 12 4x6 bags for $4. So you can add those on if you want to do the treat bags as well. Okay. We are in the final days of October. October ends tomorrow. Tomorrow's the last day of October. So if you have been thinking about taking advantage of the starter kit offer that is going on right now, you pay $99, you get $155 in product, and you get to join as a demonstrator. It is a fantastic deal. Joining has so many amazing perks, but tomorrow is your last day for this deal. The starter kit is always a fantastic deal anytime. But when there's extra stuff, it's always an extra good deal. So if you want to join with that discount, or not with the discount, but with the extra stuff, make sure you do that by tomorrow. Tomorrow's your last day. All right, the fitting florets. This is coming on Tuesday, on November 1st. You're going to be able to order this. There is a fantastic bundle. This bundle will actually be in the next January through June mini catalogs. We're going to have this bundle for a while. But there are 3 other products that are only available while supplies last. And this paper is gorgeous, and this stamp set is so fun, and those are actually the 2 things that I am featuring in my November card crate. Now, I posted about my November card crate on my blog on Friday, and November's card crate will include the crumb cake note cards and envelopes, and with that is also this amazing little box. And then inside you're going to have all your cards, and you can make as many cards as you want. I'm going to feature 6 cards and give you supplies for 6 cards. They are fantastic cards. Some of them are fun fold cards, some of them have a gift card holder. You're also going to get some of that amazing DSP, and all of that's going to be featured in the card crate. So if you want details on card crate, there is a link in the video description. You can head over there. Card crate is $35. It includes $20 in product. It ships to your home. You can do it whenever you want. It includes a PDF and video. And if you need to add on the framed and festive stamp set to coordinate with your kit, you can. You will need the stamp set to complete the card kit. So you can add that on if you want. Again, all of those details are in the video description. Click that link to go to the card crate. All right, final thing. This is the last couple of days for the October host code. There will be a brand new host code starting November 1st. If you are shopping today or tomorrow, make sure that you use this host code. All orders receive a PDF with 3 exclusive projects. Orders over $50 or more will get a make and take kit to coordinate with that PDF. All right. And make sure that if you're watching this video on Facebook, make sure you subscribe or share it with your crafty friends. And if you're on YouTube, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. All right, guys, now I'm going to lay this down, but you would, if you were to display these, they would stand up like this. But I'm going to lay them down so you can see them. So we are making a whole train of little treats. Now, my idea for this project, and when I first saw this stamp set, we're actually using the Santa's Delivery Bundle. This is in our annual catalog right now. It's an amazing stamp set and dies that coordinate with it. This is in our mini catalog. You can purchase this now. The very first thing I thought of when I saw this in the catalog was, oh my gosh, these would look so cute across your Christmas table. Make little train cars. So they would sit across your Christmas table like this, or you could put one at every place setting, however you want to do it. But this little train, you can connect them. You can make as many cars as you need to. You can have, everybody can have an engine in a car, whatever you want. Now, the super fantastic thing about this is that I wanted it to look good from both sides. So you can actually flip all of these around and hook them up this way, and they are all, they have the stamping on the front and the back. So I'm going to show you how to do reverse stamping, which is how we get these images, which are not symmetrical images, how we can get them to be stamped on going in both directions. I'm going to show you reverse stamping. And then I'm not going to go in too much into the coloring. The coloring is pretty basic. I didn't even do a lot of blending on some of them. I did some blending on the trees, a little bit on the engine, but for the most part, it is just basic coloring. So I'll go over a little bit of the coloring, and then we're going to construct the boxes. Now my little boxes, they all hold little Kit Kats. Let me stand all these up. They all hold little Kit Kats. These are the Christmas Kit Kats, but they will hold Hershey Kisses. You can put little Hershey Nuggets in it. You can put little, I mean, you could just put little M&Ms in it. You can do little Andes Mints. Yesterday at the store, I saw they finally had all their Christmas candy out. Thank goodness. But they had little Christmas Andes Mints you could put in there for maybe like an after dinner treat. Now, the other thing that I want to mention about this is that if you were only doing, if you're maybe displaying up on like a buffet or something, or you don't necessarily need the back to be shown, then you can just skip the reverse stamping part and just maybe put a black back on it or something. But we'll get to that when we get to that. But I just thought this treat was so cute. I've been waiting to make this for so long. You can just line these up. I think they would be super, super cute. Okay, so let's start with our stamping. We're going to go over all of that reverse stamping. If you've never done reverse stamping, it's actually a lot easier than I bet you're thinking, because you're like, oh my gosh, how does she get the images to go both directions? It's actually a lot easier than you think. You just need two basic tools. You need a Stamparatus and you need a silicone mat. Both of these are sold in our annual catalog, so you can purchase both of them in my online store. Now I already have my stamp sets mounted here. These are the three that we are going to do the reverse stamping on. We have the engine, the little tree that goes on top of the little train cars, and then the extra train car. Now, depending on how many boxes you're going to make, I mean, you may only need a couple of engines. You may only need one going the correct direction and then one going the reverse direction. Depending on how many train cars you need, you're going to need to kind of do the math on that. How many do you need going in one direction? How many do you need going in another direction? So there is going to be a little bit of math involved in this project, but you guys can handle it. I know you guys can handle it. Let me make sure that we are all lined up here. I may need to, we're going to have to move one of these. Let's move our engine. We're going to have to reposition these. So this project will, because you are figuring out, you know, what goes where, I'm going to do it here. What goes where and how many you're going to need. You know, just keep that in mind, because you will need to, if you're doing like 4 train cars, you're going to need to stamp 8 of these. You're going to need 4 going one direction and then 4 doing the reverse method. If you're only doing, you know, 1 train engine and 1 car, you only need 2 of each. I mean, I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm not confusing you even further. Okay, so we're going to lift this up and we're going to stamp it. The first time we're going to stamp it, this is going to be our regular stamping. This is just going to be everything going in the right direction. I just want to make sure, because that paper lifted up, I want to make sure that everything is still, we're still good. Okay, so I'm going to move my paper over just a little bit because I want to make sure that I have enough room to do the reverse on the other side. So I think we're good. Okay, so this one we are just doing this, the stamping you would do if you were just stamping these for like a card or anything. This is just regular stamping. So we're going to push this down, do our, you know, just regular stamping. This is not rocket science. All right. Now I'm actually going to cut this out because I want to make sure that my paper gets positioned the exact way. So I could use a paper trimmer, but my goodness, I'm having so much trouble with scissors today. All right. So we're going to set these aside. This is going to be for one side of it. So this is going to be like for this side. Okay, so we have all of the pieces that are going in the correct direction, and now we're going to do the reverse side. And I hope that this is not overly confusing. So I just need to kind of mark where this needs to line up. Okay, so if I line it up there, so I'm just going to kind of mentally remember where my paper needs to go. And we are actually going to stamp our images now onto our silicone mat. I know that sounds like weird, like, well, that's weird. How is that even going to work? So I'm actually going to stamp this twice on the silicone mat. And you want to use something that is non-porous. If you don't have this magnet, if you don't have a silicone mat, you just need something that has a non-porous surface. So we're going to stamp this on, and this is where your Stamparatus comes in amazingly handy, because I'm going to do it again. And I like to do it twice just to make sure that you get super even coverage of that ink. So I'm going to do it again. Make sure everything gets pushed down nice onto that silicone mat. All right. Now we're going to take that paper, and I am going to carefully lay it on top of those stamped images. And I'm going to put my magnet up here, make sure that stays in place. You can give that a rub. What we're doing is we're transferring those images on the silicone mat onto our paper. Now, without re-inking, I'm going to actually set this back down and just give this a press. And this is going to help us out when die cutting it, because our dies, we can't reverse our dies. The dies are only going to cut in one way. So even though our engine's going to be reversed on our cardstock, we can't reverse the dies. So I want to make sure that I have those images on the back so I know exactly where I'm cutting them. So I'm going to lift this up carefully, and now we have our images going in the reverse direction. So we have the ones that we stamped the correct way, and then we have the reverse ones. Isn't that cool? So you're going to get both images. Now again, if you are making more train cars, I would just remove the engine and then just keep doing that until you're done. Now your silicone mat, just get a baby wipe, clean it up, it'll be fine. All right, now I'm going to leave my memento out. I'm going to move my Stamparatus out of the way. We don't need that anymore. I'm going to leave my memento out, and we're going to do some more stamping in our actual cars. So I have some little presents and little candy canes that we're going to stamp in the cars. Now, I don't want this little flag on my presents. I don't know if you can see that. The little present stamp has a little flag. I don't want the flag, so I am going to do some strategic inking. You can actually do some masking if you want. Get a piece of tape or Post-it note and cover that up. But because this is a photopolymer stamp, I can see exactly where I'm inking it up. So I'm just going to ink up those presents, let that flag hang off the side. And I'm just going to line up those presents right into our little train cart, just like that. Now I did this, I made sure to do the presents. I did the presents on the right side on both of my cars. If you're a savvy person, you may notice that if you turn this around, the presents are not lining up. Now, that's not such a big deal for me because I don't think many people are going to notice. But if you want them to be completely lined up, then you need to make sure that you are stamping the presents on the opposite side for the reverse image. But I mean, but then you can go into the whole, but they're not lined up, like the little green present is not in the right place. I mean, that's up to you. That is if you want to get super detailed, go ahead. That's a super minor detail to me. So I'm just going to stick with stamping my presents and my candy canes wherever they go in the little car. I think that it's fine. All right, so that's most of our stamping. We do have to stamp our little greeting. Now I debated on even adding a greeting to this. I don't think that you absolutely need it. My engine does have a little sleigh delivered thing on here, which we're going to do, but I don't think that you absolutely need it. I think you could absolutely leave it off if you wanted to, and it would be fine. So I'm going to stamp the elf approved and sleigh delivered over here, and we're just going to be trimming out that sleigh delivered part. So you could even just ink up the sleigh delivered part. And that was in real red. Okay, let's move on. Now the only thing that you want to make sure when you start coloring is that you're coloring the right images. You don't want to flip it and accidentally color the wrong side. So what I like to do actually is just take a little pin, and up here I'm just going to put an X. This is the side we don't want to color. So I'm not going to color all of them. They are all colored the same pretty much. I'm going to bring these in. So I'm pretty much just going to focus on, I'm going to show you how I colored one part of them, then the opposite ones will be colored the exact same way. So let's color these ones, because then we can die cut them, and I'll show you how those get die cut. All right, so I have all my markers. I used a lot of Stampin' Blends for this one, but feel free to use whatever color medium you want. You can Color them however you want. You can go super simple. You can even, give these to kids to color. You can do whatever you want. So for the tires, for the wheels, I guess trains don't have tires, but for the wheels, I'm using light basic black, and we're going to come in and add details to these later. So I'm not doing any blending. I just want to make sure that there's a little bit of color underneath them. So this one is a little bit bigger. It's going to take a little longer. So again, basic coloring, you guys, especially if you're making a lot of these, if you're making, you know, you have a big family gathering, you want everybody to have them, and you're making 10 or 12 train cars, you want to keep the coloring super basic. Okay. And that, if you didn't want to do the front and the back, that would also save time too, because you wouldn't have to be coloring both of them. I hope that makes sense. So if you were making a lot of these though, I would color them all the same, or all at the same time. So I would stamp everything and then go through and color all of my tires or my wheels. Again, trains don't have tires. I guess if it's not on a track, it has a tire, right? I don't know. We're gonna call them wheels. Whatever. So your little train wheels, just, you know, color them all together. If I was doing these two, I'd just go through, do all my blacks together, all my reds together. Like that, just do batch it. It goes faster. Okay, put these off to the side. My smoky slate is next. So I have both light and dark smoky slate, and all of these colors will be listed in the video description, so you guys don't have to worry about any of that. So this is my dark smoky slate. I want to start with my light. My light smoky slate, all of the little, on the train engine and the train cars, all of these little triangles that go down, I am doing in smoky slate, light smoky slate. You can go in and add a little bit of detail if you wanted to add a little bit of extra detail going with the dark, and then just pull that down. You can add a little bit of extra detail. You know, it's, which one I'm going to use light. It's really up to you. Am I off camera? I hope not. It's really up to you how much time you want to spend coloring these. I would, if I was making a bunch of these, I would just sit down and put on a movie and color them all at once, and then maybe go back later and finish up the little boxes and all that. Okay, we are probably not going to color all these. I have finished ones, so we're not going to go too far into all of these. So let me just, it's going to be hard for me not to color them all. It's going to bother me a little bit. All right, now for Santa, I did want to make sure that he has some shading. So for his gloves, we're going to go with light smoky slate on his little mittens there. And then I am going to go in with just a little bit of dark, just kind of where his coat is overlapping his mittens, just to give it a little bit of shading. And that's really the only shading that I did with the smoky slate. For this little present back here, I colored it in dark smoky slate. I wanted it to look more like a silver, and I meant to go over it with my Wink of Stella, but I don't think I ever did that. So that completes the smoky slate part of it. So you would do that with all of yours. So let's move on to our real red. So I'm using real red, and I wanted Santa to be real red. So let's start with the light. So we're going to do his hat. So there's a little hat up here in real red, and then his coat in real red. So I'm going to pull that in. And you guys can color these however you want. Again, if you want like a blue train, color it a blue train. If you want the train to be all one color, that would speed up your coloring process as well too. You don't have to go too elaborate on the coloring. I think I went a little bit overboard on all of my coloring, but if you wanted to keep it simple, you absolutely could. Again, you can pull in kids to help if you wanted. So I'm going to do a little bit of shading on his hat, and then just a little bit, this is just with the dark, and then just a little bit where things are overlapping. His chest is overlapping his arm there, his beard is overlapping his coat, and over here on his other arm. You can just blend that out with the light, and that's really all for the engine. I wanted to make sure we brought in the red for the train cars, and so for the train cars, I did do a little bit of shading. I did some dark on the bottom of each of these triangles. I'll just do these three, and then I just brought in the light just like that and just blended it all the way up. And you would do that for the remaining triangles. I wanted to just make sure that we had some light brought in as well, or some red brought in to the train cars so that it all coordinated. And I am going to go back to my smoky slate because I forgot there are parts we forgot to color. So the bottom of the train here, this I'm going to do, I'm using dark right now. It looks like on my sample I used light, and then the little, you know, the thing that attaches to the car, and then this thing on top. We are doing that in Smoky Slate. Okay, that was, you can use dark or light, whatever your preference is. Oh, and then this thing too on the, let me switch, I don't want to use my brush tip, too small of a spot. All right, just pull that in across like that. Okay, I think that's all of our Smoky Slate. I think I did do a little bit of shading on Santa's beard with some light Smoky Slate. Again, this is getting very like super technical, just a little bit on each side. And then I brought in my color lifter and just shaded that out a little bit. But again, that's, I mean, you could totally leave that off. I don't think people are really going to complain about that. People aren't going to notice that. Okay, so let's move on. So I have Dark Daffodil Delight. This is just the little star on our tree. This is the only place I used Daffodil Delight. I have Dark Crumb Cake. This is for our tree trunk. This is the only place I used that. And let's move on. I have the Natural Blends. This is the medium light Natural Blends. I'm using the 700 for Santa's skin tone. You can give Santa any skin tone you want. It's really a place for you to customize Santa. It's the only place I use that. And then we're going to bring in our Pool Party. My Pool Party light I did on his glasses. I wanted those to stand out a little bit, so I gave him just a little bit of shine. And then we're going to go in, this is going to be Pool Party, this little piece right here. This piece in the front, I don't know what train parts are called. So if I'm calling it the wrong thing, I do apologize. And then for this, for his train, all these bottom triangles are going to be Pool Party. So I'm using the light right now, and then I'll go in and do a little bit of shading with the dark. So all of these little pieces are going to be Pool Party. And I forgot to bring in I forgot to do this part of the train engine here. And this little piece right here, and I think that's it. No, I did that Pool Party. Okay. So again, if you use fewer colors, it gets a little less complicated, guys. And then for the top part up here, I'm going to use some light Pool Party. Just go across the top right there. Now, also with my light Pool Party, I wanted things to kind of pop out. And so I am just going to trace the outside of my image with Pool Party. This is the light Pool Party. You can use any light color here. You can use a light soft sea foam. You can use any light color. And I'm going to do this down here too. Now on video, it's probably not going to it's not going to show up well on video, but in person, what this does when you kind of go around an image like this is that stamped line will kind of pop up. It makes it look like it's on dimension. So I know in the video that's not going to be evident. Check out my pictures on my blog a little later. You're going to see all of that. Okay, now with my dark Pool Party, I'm going to go in now and add a little bit of shading to the train. So up here, just on the edges of this piece, and then on the bottom of all of these little triangles, I would add all the shading and go back in with your light and just blend those in together. And again, if you wanted to skip all the shading, that's totally fine. Skip the shading. I don't think it's completely necessary. All right, the dark Pool Party on the little present here, and light Pool Party on this present here. And I didn't do the red, so light red for the bow on this one. There we go. Okay, and the candy canes, of course, obviously. Just go through, do every other little stripe. And these are small, so I mean, don't worry about any kind of shading on those candy canes. Okay, final two colors, guys. We're nearly to the end. All right, I have Parakeet Party here for the rest of my little train engine here. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna actually start with the dark this time, and on his little, man, I don't know what this thing is called, where the smoke comes out of. I should know train terms. My husband loves trains. And then on the engine here, I'm just going to kind of go around each side and the bottom with the dark. And then we're going to fill that in with the light. And then under here, I'm just going to go all dark under his arm. And then up the side. This side they're very small for blending, so I'm not going to do too much blending. And then I'm just kind of hitting the corners. is where it's going to be the darkest. And then this, I'm just going to do the bottom of the very front. So just blend that out. Little, is it a smokestack? Is that what it's called? Smokestack. And then just kind of go over these. If there are some harsh lines, I think that's okay. I think it's just going to add to the kind of the character of the train. So I'm just going through with the light and just kind of blending that all. If you want darker shades, go in and add more dark. Now for our little train cars, we're going to kind of do the same thing, except I'm just doing the top corners here. Top corner with the dark, and then we're just going to go in with the light and fill those in. Okay, and that pretty much completes our little trains, our engine and our train cars. Oh, dark parakeet party in the center of all the wheels. Type, yeah, wheels. I don't know if trains have hubcaps. I don't know what those are. But, all right, now we're going to turn our attention to our final thing that we need to color. I'm using Old Olive for our tree, and I'm going to start with the dark and just kind of go over some of the branches with the dark one, wherever there would be a little bit of highlights. And then just take that light one and just color the whole tree, just going over those dark areas. Some of them will blend better than others because there's bigger areas to go over it. But again, it's just going to add to all the dimension. If it doesn't blend completely, that's okay. It's just going to add some extra dimension. It's going to just look like those little pine needles. It's going to all be fine. And just a little bottom there. And then for the straps, I did use I used the dark royal red for the straps to hold that down. But you could use black. You could use whatever you wanted. And this is all going to be cut out, so don't worry about moving down like that. Okay, so you would color all of your little cars like this, however many little train cars you did. You would also color, you know, the front version of it. And now you would die cut them out. So let's die cut them. Now, remember what I told you with our reverse stamping, your dies are not going to work on this side, which is why we stamped them on the other side. And so we are going to just line these up with that on the back. We have that stamped image. So it's all going to line up perfectly. So just line those up on the back, and we're going to run this through. So you would just put all these down. I'm not going to go through because remember I told you guys we already have some. So you're going to die cut all of your images. That you die cut the reverse ones from the back, die cut the front ones, the regular stamped ones from the front, and then you're going to end up with all of your pieces. So you have both sets of engines here, the front and the back. You have both sets of cars here. I guess like not front and the back, but you know, sides, and then you have two trees. So this is what you're going to need for each little engine. You're going to need two of those train engines, the regular one and then the reverse one. You're going to need two train cars and two trees for each of your train cars. So depending on how long you're going to make this train. Now I wanted my pieces to be a little bit more sturdy because they are standing up on a table like this. So I wanted them to be sturdy. So I also die cut some just out of black, and we're going to adhere all of those down. So I already have some of them done. This one I need to glue down. So these are already done. And so I'm going to glue these down to some black cardstock just to add some more stability to them. You could use the thick basic white too if you wanted, but also your coloring is going to show from the inside of the boxes. You can see the inside of the boxes, so your coloring is going to show. So this is also just going to go and kind of disguise some of that coloring if you're using Stampin' Blends. So this is just going to give a nice little finished look. And I like to use liquid glue for this just so I can make sure that those die cuts line up pretty perfectly, just like that. So we're going to go through, we're going to do the others. And so I hope this project, I mean, I know there's a lot of steps. I don't think that they're terribly hard steps, but they, oh, the wrong side. But they are time-consuming steps. Our box is going to cover that mostly, so I'm not too worried about that. They are time-consuming steps, so, I mean, this is a project you probably don't want to start on Christmas Eve. This is maybe a project that you want to start now, especially if you're making a bunch of these. Remember, you can make your train as long as you want it to be. You can make as many cars as you need to. And if you don't want to do that reverse stamping, if you want to skip that, that's perfectly fine too. That's going to save you a lot of time and a lot of coloring. Now, if you skip that part, you will need to cut it back, die cut it back. You can do that out of just basic black, or if you colored your train red or something, you can die cut it out of red, just something to coordinate. All right, now for our little trees, we're going to adhere these down. So I'm just going to put a little line of adhesive on the back of our little cars, and we're going to adhere those down. Just like that, okay? And then we're going to set all of this aside to dry, and we're going to work on our little boxes to hold all of our candy. Oops, oh, wrong side. What was I thinking? You guys are probably like, what is she doing? Okay, so our little cars will line up exactly the same, just like that. Okay, so I'm going to set those aside, and then our little engines are ready to go. Those will line up too. Okay, set those aside, and let's work on our boxes. Let me push these back so I can get my Simply Scored out. All right, you need to use your Simply Scored, and then for each box, you are going to need a piece that is 3 by 4. So I have 2 here because we're making the engine and the train car. So 3 by 4 for each of the boxes, and you're just going to go through and score them at 1 inch on all 4 sides. So it's really easy scoring. There's no funky measurements. There's no 8ths. There's no 16ths. Just go through and do 1 inch on each side. Whoop, that one skipped. That's okay. That's not going to show. 1 inch. Okay, I do want to kind of go through. If you flip it over, you can kind of push it back gently the other direction. It's not going to show too much, so I'm not worried about it at all. All right. Now, we're going to go through and we're going to burnish all of our score lines. Grab your bone folder. These boxes are super simple to put together. You've probably seen me make boxes like this a million times, so they're super simple. Okay, grab your scissors. Let's hope that my cutting skills are a little better. All right, on the long side, you're going to cut up those score lines, and then I'm just going to notch in just on one side. I mean, these are all going to fold in. We're using basic black for this so that our boxes kind of blend into the backs. We backed them with basic black, so whatever color you want to back your train with, do your boxes in that same color. That way everything just kind of blends together. So just cut these little triangles out just like that. Now remember, these little boxes will hold a variety of things. You can, and if you didn't want to do the greeting, we did stamp the greeting, we need to cut that out and put that on. You could always just put people's names on them. You could even, instead of in the little train cars here, if you didn't want to stamp the presents, you could just write somebody's name in there and put it at their little place at Christmas dinner. That would be really cute too. I mean, there's so many different things you can do with these little train cars. They would make just good decoration, just lined up somewhere. Okay, grab a super strong adhesive and just put them on. I'm using Stampin' Seal Plus, and I'm just gonna put adhesive on all 4 of those little corners. And this is gonna be our box. That's it. I told you guys, easy box, right? So the coloring and the stamping might have been a little bit tricky, but the train boxes are super simple. It's 3 by 4. If you're using our 12 by 12, our black comes in 12 by 12 now in our mini catalog. So if you're using our 12 by 12, if you're making a lot of them, you can get a bunch of 3 by 4 out of the 12 by 12 without any waste. So that's a good little tip. Get our 12 by 12 if you plan to make a bunch of these, and you'll have no waste. Okay, so those just all line up just like that, and those are our little boxes for our cars. That's it. Okay, so let's go back to our little cars here. So I'll start with the engine, and I'm going to put some liquid glue. And for this part, I really like to use liquid glue because it's a stronghold one, but you're going to want some wiggle room because you want to make sure you get this perfect. So I am lining up right where the wheels are, just on this bottom part of the train here. I'm going to try to line that up, and then I'm just going to try to center it in here, just like that. It should fit perfectly. This little corner right here, just make sure that it's kind of hidden back there. And like, you shouldn't see it at all from the front, which we don't. So once you get it that nice and positioned, go ahead and adhere that down. More glue on this side, and you're going to do the same thing. Just line it up. And you can just kind of maneuver it. I like to That liquid glue will give you a little bit of time. I like to set it flat like this, just make sure everything is nice and level, that you don't have wheels higher than the other. And I just want this side to go down just a little bit. Okay, so I think that's good. You can just kind of square it away, make sure that it's not going to wobble. Those wheels are all good. Isn't that cute? Okay, give that a good little press. If you have some clothespins, you can use clothespins to hold them down, whatever you want to do. And we're going to do the same thing with our train cars. So we're just going to line it up against that bottom edge there. This one will fit just perfectly inside that box there. All right, and do the same for the other side. Line that up, and we'll do some wiggling, some maneuvering. Just kind of set it down, make sure everything's nice and level. Give that a little press. All right, and there is our little train ready to go. I think I adhered my trees going the opposite direction on this one, so I have my little thing to hook it on. But again, you guys, that doesn't matter. Nobody is going to know that the tree is facing the wrong direction. And who knows if it's facing the wrong direction. All right, so your little train would just line up like that. However many train cars you have, you can attach as many train cars as you want. All right, but we have some finishing touches on this, so I want to find that greeting. So let me pull these dies off of here. I'm going to die cut these in a minute, but I want to just cut out this greeting that we stamped in Real Red. And I'm just going to use my scissors. You can use a paper trimmer, whatever you want to do. But I'm just cutting out this sleigh delivered piece. And again, you could just use, write some names, write Merry Christmas. I mean, you could do whatever you wanted. A little bit of adhesive. You guys, this project, I used 0 dimensionals. Can you believe it? 0 dimensionals. Sleigh delivered just like that, just right on the engine. Okay, now to really fancy it up, now this is taking it to like a whole nother step. I'm going to use the pearlized enamel effects. These are also in the mini catalog. I'm going to use the black and the white. Now the thing that you want to remember with this is that this is going to need some drying time. I let these dry for a while. And you can do this step either before you put them together or after. If you do this before you or after you put them together, you're going to need to let one side dry before you do the other side. So for his little hat, I'm going to do a little dot right on the end of his hat, and then I'm going to fill in his brim of his hat just with the white. And I love the pearlized effects because it kind of levels itself out. So you'll see on his little dot on his hat, there was a little spike to it when I pulled it away. But it has completely kind of leveled itself off, and it's going to be completely rounded and beautiful when it's dried. But again, you're going to have to give this a little bit of time to dry. Now, I'm going to do the same thing for the wheels with the black, and I'm just going to go through, and it's kind of like frosting cookies. It's kind of what I was thinking about with this stuff. It levels itself out, which I like. It gives nice dimension and texture. So just go around each wheel. And again, I like to lay them flat to dry. I don't think that it's going to drip off if I set it like this to dry, but I like to lay it completely flat to dry. But again, you're going to have to let this side completely dry before you flip it over and do the other side. If I were to flip it over right now, it's not only going to be glued to my surface, but it's going to be, the whole thing would be ruined. So take your time with this. Give it plenty of dry time. And again, you could do these before you put the little boxes on the back too. Just make sure that you give plenty of dry time. Okay? So let's fill up our little cars with Kit Kats. Remember, I told you guys there you can use any candies. There's lots of, oh, sorry, my brain wants one of each color, so I gotta dig through. You can do whatever little treats you want, little Christmas treats or candies. If you have a little tradition in your house, you know, fill it with that. I think that would be really cute. Watch your pearlized effects. Don't put your finger in it. Don't mess it up. It takes a little bit of time to dry. All right, and there is your little train. So I'm going to move that engine out of the way to, again, make as many little engines as you want. These would be so cute lined up on a Christmas table, a Christmas buffet. I mean, just anywhere you can put each of the one on each individual place setting. So cute. So many fun ideas with this one. So I can't wait to see what you guys do with this one. Let me add some to this. So I think I'll be using mine. I'm not sure what I'm going to use with them. I'll let the kids decide how they want to use them this year. But now I have a bunch ready to go. I'm so excited. Okay, guys, so let me know what you think. Is this project way too over the top? Do you love it? Let me know what you think. I think they're just so adorable. And again, you can always skip the other side if you don't want to do the reverse stamping, or if you're making a lot of these and you just don't have time. I totally get that. Just die cut something for the back. All right, guys. I hope you guys love this one. This was one of the very first things I thought of when I saw this bundle. So I'm so glad that it worked out and it came out just as I envisioned it. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Make sure that you are shopping. This is the last couple of days to use that October host code. If you're on Facebook, please share this with your friends. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe to my channel. That really helps my business grow. And I thank you guys so much. All right, I'll be back on next Sunday with week 6 of our 12 weeks of Christmas. I think it's week 6. Week 6 of our 12 weeks of Christmas. And I'll be back on Wednesday with another fun project on my business page. So check that out. All right, guys, have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.